people right there. We're here to fight for you. We won't forget you.
ICE agents are causing chaos. We may have identified the worst person at CPAC, and a story out of Oklahoma that will send shivers down your spine. Stay tuned for that. But let's start with this phenomenon of plainclothes ICE officers. We have seen footage now from across the country. Seemingly random people spring into action, arrest and detain people, handcuff them, and throw them into vehicles. This is Trump's America, and we need to continue to rely on citizens to take action because the Trump administration surely doesn't care.
I do have some substantial concerns over how ICE agents present themselves to the public. Oftentimes, we've seen many videos out there where they're masked and not properly identified. I have a lot of real personal concern about that. I just put myself in the situation of that woman from Tufts, for example. You're just walking down the street, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, 3 masked men, not properly identified, attack you and try to take you away. I find that to be reprehensible and not the values of this country. What steps are you taking to make sure that your ICE agents are not masked and properly identified when they approach someone?
Well, ICE agents always identify themselves to individuals that they're encountering or that they're working with. What I would say as far as if they are wearing something over their faces, it's oftentimes because that agent has been involved in undercover operations or needs to be able to continue the investigative work that they do on a day-to-day basis.
But don't you think, Madam Secretary, that people have a right to see whoever's trying to apprehend them? I think it's creating this unrealistic vigilante system. And are you aware that your materials, ICE agents, jackets and the sorts, are available on Etsy for $20? Anybody can do that, throw a mask on, and run around and terrorizing people of color without any regard for the law, without any regard, because your agency does not have proper protocols to make sure their agents are clearly identified and marked when they're executing their jobs.
So we're relying on ICE agents to self-identify, and there is no regulation on whether or not they can cover their face or what they need to wear. Do you see how that sets up a massive problem? Anybody can impersonate an ICE officer. Anybody can simply claim they're an ICE officer. You are incentivizing the worst people in America to do vigilante justice, and in reality, as a consequence, people will be harmed. How do you not recognize that? Maybe they do. They just don't care. According to the Immigrant Defense Project, they don't need to wear uniforms and they can cover their face. And you can, in fact, cosplay as ICE if you are a piece of shit.
Nope. Explain the outfit.
It's $29.99 on Amazon. I would recommend buying a small if you're my size. This one's a little too loose for my liking. But yeah, if you want some entertainment, wear this and go to a Home Depot in a sanctuary city like where I live right now, Washington, D.C., and you'll see all the illegals, not all of them, but you can maybe see a lot of them start to run away, and you feel like a group fitness instructor. It's really good.
And you actually think that's funny?
I think it's hilarious, absolutely. What's not funny is them illegally...
There you have it, everybody.
That's it. That is the worst person at CPAC, by far. Which is quite the title when you're at a convention of dip. But what actual ICE agents are doing is far worse.
And more than 500,000 migrants from 4 Latin American countries are losing legal protections they got from President Biden. The Supreme Court today granted the Trump administration's emergency request to revoke that program. Omar Villafranca in Dallas reports on a controversial deportation policy where migrants are being hauled away from courthouses.
We captured the moment 2 men went from migrants
do not approach interpreters
to detainees. It happened last week at Dallas Immigration Court when nearly a dozen people showed up to have their asylum cases heard. Their cases were dismissed by the judge, and when they walked out of the courtroom, plainclothes federal agents were waiting to take them into custody. Immigration attorney Belinda Arroyo says targeting migrants at the courthouse used to be a rare event.
What does it do when an ICE agent is in the court and they're not dealing with somebody who's currently in ICE custody?
Well, I think it makes everybody be on edge.
It's not just happening in Dallas. Asylum seekers in San Antonio were seen crying and begging for help as they were led away in handcuffs. 2 Department of Homeland Security officials tell CBS News ICE is asking immigration judges across the country to dismiss the court cases of certain migrants so the agency can arrest them once their hearings end and place them in a fast-track deportation process known as expedited removal.
Trump has claimed that not everyone can have a trial, but they're taking the trial part out of it entirely. So now nobody gets a trial. You're just deported. No due process at all. This seriously and fundamentally undermines our entire country, our entire legal system. If they start depriving people of due process, it won't end where they started. They will continue that trend to more and more people. That's why it is imperative that people fight back now, that you fight for the rights of due process now. And it should go without saying, but we need to say it regardless, that in all of this chaos, in depriving people of their due process rights, and in the rush to get people deported, they make mistakes, big ones.
About 20 armed federal agents broke into a home occupied by a family of U.S. citizens in Oklahoma City who had just moved there 2 weeks prior from Maryland. ICE agents mistaking the current occupants for the former broke down the door, terrorized the family, and they repeatedly said, "We are citizens. You have the wrong people. We are citizens."
This was bound to happen. When you are enabling jackbooted thugs to terrorize people, this is going to be the result. Kicking in the door of an innocent woman and her kids, terrorizing them in the middle of the night, seizing their personal property with no timetable for return. Not only are you terrorizing them and scaring the kids, you are upending their entire lives. Just listen to what the mother had to say.
And I kept asking them, like, who are you? What are you doing here? What's happening? And they said, we have a warrant for the house.
They ordered Marissa and her daughters outside into the rain before they could even get dressed.
They wanted me to change in front of all of them, in between all of them. Like, my husband has not even seen my daughter in her undergarments, her own dad, because it's respectful. And you have her out there, a minor.
The thing is, the suspect names on that search warrant were not Marissa's or anyone in her family's.
This is all to create an environment of fear. They want people to self-deport. They want to dissuade immigrants from coming here. It doesn't even matter if you are a citizen or not. Anybody can be caught in this dragnet because that family just moved into that house. And maybe the past residents were who they were looking for, but because of their recklessness, their carelessness, and their maliciousness, a family of citizens had their door kicked in and the kids are terrorized. This is on nobody except the federal government. And I ask you, the more you hear about these stories of citizens being harassed, of young children whose parents brought them here, or they were born here to undocumented parents, when people like that are caught up in this system, does that make you feel safe? Do you feel any pride in your country? Do you feel relieved at all? Because I sure don't. Why would I want anybody to be terrorized by the government? Why would I want a family to live with trauma for the foreseeable future for no reason other than ICE agents' recklessness? So whenever you hear Trump or a Republican say this is about securing our border and strengthening our country and getting rid of criminals, this is the reality. This is what it actually looks like. It is the deprivation of due process rights. It's citizens being harassed. It is an environment where anybody with racial animus can throw on a $30 ICE jacket and go out and terrorize people. That is Trump's America. And it's on all of us to stand up and speak out and fight this now. Thank you so much for watching. We will be covering these stories as they develop. To follow along, hit like on this video and subscribe to the channel. Can't thank you enough.